Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about sad, true facts though. Why do businesses fail? What are the causes? We're going to break it down for you so that maybe business might not be easy, but you won't be making these really big mistakes, okay? If you're new here, my name is Taylor Darcy from Think Legal, where I help businesses and people thrive. So welcome. I'm happy to have you. I go live most of the time, Monday through Friday, right now, right at 11. Trying to keep consistent, but unfortunately, sometimes things do get in the way. But you can generally find me. If you're not able to attend the live, make sure to leave comments down below for questions you might have. I'm here to answer them the best I can. Or if you want to learn about something else, I'm happy to do videos on different topics. So please let me know. I'm happy to do that for you. So let's get started, shall we? All right. So these are going to be in reverse order. So if you're paying attention, number 10 is going to actually be where the number one reason why you failed. But we're going to start it. It's going to be fun. These actually, I take that back. These are kind of in no particular order, but the combination of all of them are going to cause problems. So you want to pay attention to the one that's important to you. And I'd be willing to bet that you know which one that is, right? Like, you know your business, or you're thinking about your business, you're thinking about starting your business. You know which one you're going to probably struggle with the most. And I hope that you're working on that you're planning to fix those things. First and foremost, failure to understand your market and your customers. What do people really want? I know it sounds like, well, duh. But at the same time, it's true. People you can't sell ice to an Eskimo. There are some people that can try, but the idea being that you need to have I guess it's Inuit, you need to have an understanding of who your customer is. Who is going to purchase your product? On The Big Bang Theory, one of my favorite shows, they are, one of the episodes, they're developing an app. And they're going to have to sell it for $1 million a piece because there's only like 5 people in the entire world that are interested in it in order to make a profit on it. You don't want to be that. You don't want to have to sell an app to 5 people at $1 million a piece in order for it to be worthwhile for you to do your business. That's just not a good business opportunity. It's not a good business model, because if those 5 people aren't interested or they don't have the money, then you are SOL. You are sorry out of luck. So you're going to go, that's going to cause a cascading failure, right? Not enough people, not enough demand. You're going to end up with a lack of a business at that point. That's number 1. Number 2, opening a business in an industry that isn't profitable. Yeah, honestly, trying to break into the 99-cent store business. I don't know why you would try. Or some of these other types of low margin businesses. When you're competing with companies like Walmart and Target and 99-cent stores, things of that nature, starting a grocery store, starting another store like that, it isn't necessarily a recipe for success. Because becoming profitable in those things is going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of capital to work on that. And you're going to be facing some pretty stiff competition because of the processes and procedures that are already in place. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't start something like very niche related, like t-shirts instead of Walmart, and then selling to Walmart, things of that nature. So, but you need to make sure that the industry in which you're working on is profitable or can be profitable. And here's how you can tell if it's going to be profitable or not. And this one's pretty easy, actually. Are there enough businesses in that industry already? And you think, whoa, wait. So they're already crowded, so why would I get into that? No. What you're going to do is you're going to differentiate yourself from those already existing businesses. But if there's enough business for multiple companies within that, then there's more than likely, I'm not saying definitely, enough business for you to start, okay? But you need to make that determination. If nobody has done it before, and I mean truly nobody, either there's no market for it, or the product isn't viable. I'm not suggesting that that there's not things that haven't been thought of yet. I'm simply saying that if you've thought of it, there might not be that market to sell it to. So you have to be very careful. That's why, like, for instance, if I'm going to recommend anything when I'm talking to a client, I'm going to talk about like something that's an iteration of something that's already done, right? Something that's just a twist on something that already sells. Why? Because the market's already there. People already know about that product, and selling a new product or a similar product is easier, okay? When people are confused about what they're buying, they say no, right? A confused mind always says no when it's something like that. So if you can't make it super duper simple, if it takes you pages and pages and pages to explain something, it's probably going to have a tough time selling, okay? The next thing is number 3, failure to understand and communicate what you're selling. This comes back to and is very important. What are you selling? Can you explain it in simple, basic terms? Is it obvious by the thing that you're selling it? Or do you have to go into a 20-page essay on it to explain it? And I'll tell you right now, you'll fail. Because people, even the most intelligent people in the world, even the people that are capable of grasping your product, okay, the most Warren Buffett's, Bill Gates, anyway, the very, very, very smart people out there don't have enough mental capacity to try to figure out something that you are trying to sell them if it isn't simple, okay? Because our attention spans just aren't long enough for them to understand after 3 pages why they should buy it. I mean, if you're pitching something on Shark Tank, think Mark Cuban, you got to know that it's going to be a short process. You can't go on there and I mean investors or people, you can't sell a product to somebody that doesn't understand what you're selling, right? So if you make it too complicated or you don't communicate the benefits adequately of that product that you're selling, people that don't understand it are going to say no. And it's going to sit on the shelves or it's just not going to get sold. Wendy's tried to market third-pound burgers, and it failed miserably because people didn't understand that a third pound is more than a fourth pound. Yep. And so they thought that the quarter pounder at McDonald's was more beef than the third pounder at Wendy's. So remember, you're not selling to the highest common denominator. You're selling to the lowest common denominator. And I'm not suggesting that people are dumb. That's not my point. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, like, when you're selling something to someone, you have to look at it through the eyes of the simplest person possible, the easiest. Think of child-like understanding. Because if you can explain it to a child and a child wants it, you've got something to work with, okay? The next thing is, and this one's pretty important to pay attention to, inadequate financing. Oh my gosh, this is so true. People try to start businesses out of nothing. And in some instances, you can do that. You can bootstrap your way to things. But at other times, you need financing. You need money to pay on those things, okay? You need to be able to buy the product, to build the product, to sell the product. You need to be able to pay your employees. There's so many instances where financing solves almost every problem. Doesn't solve those previous problems that we just talked about, okay? It does not solve the failure to understand, doesn't solve those things because those are behavioral things, okay? But money solves a lot of problems, okay? So you need money. You need to find a way to financing. If you don't understand business financing, you need to hire somebody that does. It needs to be a CPA, it needs to be some sort of financial analyst, somebody that understands how to make your product profitable, what it takes to get you there, what it's going to cost. Oh my gosh, this is one of my favorite ones. Entrepreneurs all the time will underprice their products. They don't understand that if you don't price it accordingly, that you will go out of business. I'm not saying you have to gouge people. In fact, the exact opposite. I'm saying know what your product is worth and what the market will pay for it. Okay? Don't try to undercut other products out there unless it truly is an inferior product, because you're going to lose money on it. Straight up, because somebody's going to be willing to pay more for that other product. So make sure you understand your pricing structure, why you charge the things that you do. Figure this math out. What costs, COGS is the cost of goods sold, is the term used in managerial accounting, financial accounting, that type of thing. What are your costs, right? And you got to include everything. You've got fixed cost, variable costs. You need to sit down and look at these numbers and see what is it you need to charge for something. Because if you have to charge $1 million per app download, you're not going to make any money, right? That's the idea behind making sure that you can charge an appropriate charge. Don't just pull numbers out of your, area. Don't just pull numbers out. Look at your numbers, serious numbers, to see what, your profit is going to be on each product sold. Okay, next is reactive attitudes. Okay. Stuff is going to happen in business. That's a given. Okay. Stuff that you can't control, stuff that you can't fix. But if you're always on the defense and never going on the offense, if you're never setting your own agenda on things, if you're just hoping and praying for things to happen, you're already on the losing side of things. Okay. Reactive attitudes will give you the sky is falling all the time, or the Chicken Little problem, right? You're going to have problems because you're going to be reacting to what happens instead of acting, right? So you need to sit down and look at and forethought, right? What's potentially going to happen? For instance, we're in August right now, and if you're watching this on the replay, it could be any month, but just consider Christmas coming up, right? If your main season is Christmas and you're not preparing for it the entire year to some degree or another, you're doing your business disservice. If you're hoping that the orders will come in October for December, or vice versa, or up until December, you're setting yourself up for failure, because you may not be able to meet those order demands in December if you haven't been producing enough throughout the rest of the year. So you need to look at your upcoming, you need to forecast it, right? Better to make too many by a little bit. I'm not suggesting go crazy with it. Better to make a little bit too many than to not have enough. Because while you're losing money by spending that extra on that little extra, which you may lose, you're definitely going to lose if you can't sell those products to somebody, right? Because you didn't make them and you can't make them in time. Now, there's all sorts of arguments for just-in-time or JIT manufacturing, which is completely understandable. And I'm saying you've got to work your business model accordingly. I'm not suggesting to change things up, but you need to plan, and that's actually what we'll talk about in just a few minutes, but you need to not be reactive. Don't keep letting things happen to you. Be proactive about things. Okay, next one. This is typically more common in really small businesses or really small manufacturers, and that's overdependence on a single customer. When one customer is everything, say your only customer is Walmart. Okay, what happens if Walmart decides, we're going to go in a different direction? So what I'm really talking about here is diversifying who your customers are. Don't put all your proverbial eggs in one basket. Make sure that you're keeping relationships up with other vendors or other suppliers or other entities that you're going to be doing business with. That overdependence means that, like I said, if you're only working for Walmart, try getting Target, right? And don't sign exclusivity agreements. That's another thing. It just boggles my mind in today's competition that you would do that. So don't be over dependent on one customer, no matter what your business is. Diversifying your customer base. Don't put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to one product, right? Because certain times products are going to sell better than others. You're going to want to think about this strategically. And that brings us to the next one, number 7. No customer strategy. What's your strategy to acquire customers? Do you have one? Are you spending money to get people to come in the door? Some businesses can be very successful without them. Most can't. In fact, almost all. I'd say like 1 out of 100 can be successful without a customer strategy because it's just that popular, okay? But you need to take a look at your business and say, how do I acquire a customer and what does it cost, right? Like legit, you want to make sure that you're spending enough money to acquire as many customers as your business can handle. Yep, that's how it works. The person that is willing to spend, Dan Kennedy says this, the person that's going to spend the most money will acquire that customer. Does that mean to be foolish about your money? Don't be spending it on stupid things? No, I'm not suggesting you just blow money and throw it in the air and see what happens. No, I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm saying look at how much it costs to acquire a customer and then make decisions based upon that, right? Some customers it's going to cost more, some it's going to cost less. What's your average? And what is the value of each customer? If the average customer spends $2,000 with you or $10,000, I don't know, I'm just using just random numbers, then, spending $1,000 to acquire that customer isn't crazy. What's the lifetime benefit of that customer, right? Like how many, once you've acquired a customer, keeping them is a lot easier than trying to find a new customer. So what is it going to cost you? What is that worth to you? If one customer costs you $1,000, but they net you $40,000 over the lifetime of that customer, that's a good $1,000 investment, right? That's a 40x investment. That's a good, solid decision making. Okay. Number 8. Not knowing when to say no. I know this is probably one of those ones that people are going to leave in the comments below if stories that you've had about when saying no made the most sense. I'll tell you right up, some of the best money I've never made has been when I've said no. And it's not necessarily that the person that I was saying no to was bad. That isn't my point, although that is true sometimes. It's when you say no for strategic reasons and because it doesn't fit within your model, okay? Saying no to something that doesn't fit is going to give you the best satisfaction in the world. One of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of entrepreneurs making is trying to go after every dollar possible, regardless of the difficulty that goes with that client. When you go after every dollar, no matter what, you're missing out on the fact that some clients or some customers will drive you crazy. Some are just needier than others. Not every client is worth that same amount of money. You have to be careful. And so saying no leaves you the opportunity to say yes. Go with your instinct on this one. Set up systems that can help you monitor and decide what works for you. And if someone doesn't fit within that guide in that monitor area, then say no. Simple things. Are they eager and ready and willing to learn? Are they willing to buy? Are they willing to spend money? Or do you have to practically beg them? I'm not a big fan of that. People should either want to do business with you or not do business with you. If they don't, then move on. Okay? Now, should you follow up? Absolutely. I'm not suggesting don't follow up. I'm saying don't come across as begging. Okay? Don't come across as a needy. When you look needy, it's a bad energy. It's bad juju for you. So saying no gives you the opportunity to say yes to somebody that's a better fit for you. Because that client or that customer might be a great fit for somebody else than you. But you need to set those boundaries. You need to set those decisions, those ideals. Okay. All right. Next one. This one is probably one of the more valuable ones. I'm going to be honest with you here. Poor management. If your business is struggling, it's usually your fault. Almost always. Let's just say always. And I say that because it's up to you as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, to make those decisions. So if you don't like the results, you need to make better decisions. It's tough. It's hard. No one is going to say that this is an easy thing to do, what you're trying to do. Building a business, starting a business, running a business. Business is difficult. Okay. But if you yourself are a bad manager, we all know who they are, you shouldn't be a manager. You need to hire somebody to do that work for you and let them do their job. Or you need to work for somebody else. I can't emphasize that enough. Not everybody should be a business owner. Not everybody should be an entrepreneur. And that's okay. Not suggesting that it has to be. I'm suggesting that you find what you're good at. And if you're not great at being a manager, then find ways to get better at being a manager. Don't let that you're bad at it determine whether or not you're successful. You can improve your management skills if you're willing to be humble and listen to the feedback of your employees and your customers, clients. Can't tell you how important that is. I send surveys out to my clients or potential clients that don't hire me. Why don't you hire me? Not to be a bug about it, but I need to understand if I want to improve something, I need to know about it. If I don't know about it, how am I supposed to improve it? So part of being a good business owner is recognizing that you don't have all the answers and that if you are a poor manager, that you can improve, but you need to work on it. You need to acknowledge not everybody is a Steve Jobs or a Bill Gates or a myriad of Lee Iacocca's, any of those, right? Any of these Warren Buffett's, titans of industry. They didn't start out the way that they did. They had to acquire the skills to get where they are. And sometimes people are good at doing the thing, and sometimes people are good at managing the people that are doing the thing. Okay? It just depends on you and where you want to be and who you are. But if you're not humble enough to look in the mirror and say, I struggle with this, I need to improve, you shouldn't be in management. Keep going, move on, do something else. Do the work, be the practitioner instead of the manager, and that's okay. Acknowledging that, if you don't want to work on it, is a perfectly acceptable thing to do. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. Number 10, or should I say number 1? Whatever. Anyway, point is, number 10 is no planning. Oh my goodness, people, like legit. Start with a vivid vision, work backwards with goals or rocks or boulders or whatever you want to call it, and plan. This is why this is so important. The biggest mistake I see every entrepreneur that fails, I guarantee you it's because they didn't plan. And then they didn't stick to the plan. That's the other one. So it's kind of like a subset there. If you want to be successful, you've got to plan. Now, does everything always go according to plan? No. Ever. But if you don't plan, you don't know where you're going, and you don't know look at the big things that are going to hit you. If you don't look at those things and go, oh, I need to worry about that, something that you could have worried about, but didn't because you didn't plan, right? Now, and I'm not suggesting that you have to plan to the minute of what you're doing. I'm saying again, start with your vivid vision and work backwards. What are the things that you have to accomplish in order to get there? And some instances that's going to require a business plan and others not so much. And maybe that's something that you do with your CPA, your financial wizard, whoever it is that you feel would be beneficial to help you work on those things would be would be the best bet. But the point is, you need to plan. That's why I have tactical startup as my thing, is because people don't plan, and I want people to think tactically. Now, this isn't one of those podcast episodes. There's a new episode that's going to drop on Thursday, but the overall point is, you need to plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I hate that phrase, but it's true. So even if it's just, a quick piece of paper, quick, right? Like, start there and then keep developing your plan over time. You're busy, I get that, but don't fail to plan. That's the number one mistake that every entrepreneur that fails makes. Okay? Not that any of those other things are smaller, but if you, most of the time, if you take care of the planning, the rest of those things go away. So in a way, it's number one, but you still have to do, right? Planning plus doing equals success. I'm going to repeat that. Planning plus doing equals success. So if we take the inverse of that, right? If we take the opposite, no planning plus no doing equals failure. Okay? Or no planning plus doing, maybe success. Right? Because you're kind of just going haphazard at it, hoping for the best. Maybe. If it works, great. How about planning with no doing? Still, literally no success. The catalyst is doing, right? Like, the thing that you want, the thing that's going to be the most successful is the doing, but it's a lot more successful if you're doing and planning at the same time. An airline, for instance, I'm not a pilot, but the analogy works. If you set your destination for LA, okay, from New York, if you don't make constant course corrections, you will not end up in LA. You will end up somewhere completely different. Because a 1 degree difference can be hundreds or even thousands of miles difference between your goal and your destination, or where you actually end up at. So rather than holding on tight to the controls and never deviating, which is what most people think entrepreneurs do, or people that plan do, no, you plan, and then when you get a little off course, you come back. Get a little off course, you come back. You get a little course correction, little course corrections, little course corrections. That's how you get to your destination. That's how you get to the success, right? Because you're planning and you're doing, but you're recognizing that you've got headwinds, you've got tailwinds, you've got turbulence, you've got all sorts of things that get in the way of you being successful. But how do you handle those things? How do you handle the winds? How do you handle the turbulence? Do you course correct? Or do you turn around and go back to where you came from? No. Now, and maybe some instances, you need to land the plane a little early. What if there's an emergency? Someone in your family has an illness. Maybe you need to take a break, right? But that doesn't mean you stop going towards your destination permanently. Maybe you need more fuel. Take a break, literally and figuratively. See, these are all things that you need to think about as you're doing it. So you want to avoid failure, okay? Everybody wants to avoid failure. That's like a given. The problem is that most people don't understand is that failure is an option that leads you to success, right? Every time you deviate off course, technically you failed. But if every time you move back and go back towards your goal, then you're succeeding again, right? That's okay. Things get in the way. Don't let the things get in the way keep you from your goals, right? Make little course corrections, right? Rather than thinking success is a straight line, which it most certainly is not, take the time, be patient, make the little course corrections with those things, with your life, and do better tomorrow. Do better today. Be better now. Don't make the same mistakes. Write things down. Plan. And all of these things can work to be for your good. You will reach success. Maybe it takes a little longer because you had to take a break. But so what? Longer is better than not at all. So I want you to think about these things. So next time you're thinking about how to plan and how to do, make sure you're remembering this. Tune back into this video, watch it. Pay attention, take notes. Do what you got to do. If you've gotten value out of this video, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified of when I go live, and we'll see you later. Have a great one.